Chapter 20 Pinball DNA. Instantly, Tony was back in the pinball area of Treetop Games. Instead of the regular stoner in jeans and a leather jacket playing pinball, there was this new guy. He was still an older guy, but he was wearing like a windbreaker, maybe a jogging suit or something. Tony wasn't sure back then what to call it, but he knew it had twin stripes going down each side, and it was shiny and looked comfortable. He was playing a new pinball game. It stood out in the line of old, boring, scratched-up machines whose lights never worked anyways. It was colorful. Instead of the dull thuds and old bells clanging together like old pinball machines, it had crisp, powerful sounds projecting from the speakers. You could hear the mechanical power of a flipper when a player pressed the button. You could hear the ball sliding, racing across the super slick playfield. It even had a narrator with a powerful voice that anyone in Treetop Games could hear when it got excited. The pinball game was called Caveman. The machine itself was a marvel to look at. It had a picture of a big, funny-looking caveman on the back glass. There was a huge volcano erupting in the background of the picture. Around the caveman was chaos on every side. A Tyrannosaurus Rex about to chomp him. Lava flowing under his feet. Pinballs flying everywhere. Other cavemen being devoured by dinosaurs all around him. It was one of those pieces of art with so much going on you could stare at it for years and continually see new things. And Tony did. This new guy was doing stuff Tony and Perry had never seen pinball players do before. Leaning, pushing on the machine, standing on one leg and twisting his body sideways like he was dodging a bullet. They laughed at the time and looked funny. But after he played for a bit, the powerful narrator's voice inside the pinball machine was getting excited. "Ball 2 locked! One more for Tyrannosaurus Rex multi-ball!" the machine yelled. Tyrannosaurus Rex multi-ball? Perry and Tony each thought. They're intrigued. It intrigued them. They looked at each other and got up to see what was going on. By the time they got close enough to watch what was happening, the game's announcer's voice was nearing a frenzy. The small yellow and black dot matrix was showing a caveman running from a T-Rex, and all of a sudden a volcano shot out 3 balls. In a deep, awesome voice, the machine yelled, "T-Rex multi-ball!" The machine screamed with a seriousness to it that was quite engaging. It turned heads in all of Treetop. All of a sudden there were 3 balls on the playfield, and this new guy was flipping them around with ease, not losing any. Then from a back corner of the machine, a huge mechanical T-Rex stomped onto the playfield, and the guy playing started hitting it with the 3 balls. The T-Rex let out a great roar with each hit, and red and white flashing lights almost blind the player. Finally, the T-Rex was beaten, and he folded back behind the volcano. "Get the T-Rex jackpot!" Flashing red lights were pointing at both ramps. Tony wanted to yell out, "Shoot for that ramp!" But he knew not to, but he was getting good at this, it seemed like. Tony looked down, and the pinball player had caught 2 balls with the right flipper. The other ball was bouncing around while he watched it like an eagle, adjusting his weight and almost flipping when the ball zoomed by, but he never actually flipped. He let the machine bounce the ball around. He seemed to know where it was going. The third ball bounced back and forth really fast for a second. Then it hit a post that sent it arcing towards the left flipper. He waited until the perfect moment and flipped the flipper once. In what seemed like slow motion, the flipper flipped up, and at the exact time the flipper was at its greatest height, it met the ball, and the ball just sat down calmly on the flipper, All that crazy kinetic energy was instantly gone. It was like he caught the ball, and suddenly he had 3 balls sitting on his 2 flippers. Tony didn't think you could do that in pinball. The pinball player looked over at Tony and smiled. That was cool. You want to see a jackpot, kid? Tony thought, what's a jackpot? The new guy looked down, took his hand off the left button, and let the ball drool down the flipper. As the ball rolled, Tony thought he should have hit it already, but he let it go way past where Tony thought he should have hit it, almost to the point where Tony thought he was going to lose the ball. But then he flipped and sent the ball off in a powerful vector, diagonal up and to the right. It went over the flashing lights and perfectly up the brown plastic ramp, over a hump, and then quickly looped back on a track, coming back down to the right flipper. Jackpot! The machine yelled, and a huge bold 4 million displayed on the dot matrix. The ball jiggled down and was coming to the right flipper, where he was already holding 2 balls. Tony's young pinball mind thought, oh man, what can he possibly do? He hunched over and his eyes darted around the machine. Then quickly he flipped the right flipper, sent 1 ball up the left ramp, which somehow juggled the second ball he was holding above the flipper. Double jackpot! The dot matrix display looked like it was going to jump out at you. 8 million took up every pixel. The right flipper still had 2 balls caught right there. The ball he juggled when he hit the double jackpot must have had a spin on it, because it hovered above the flipper for an unnaturally long time. Long enough for the other ball to roll under it and give him a clean shot. Perfect shot. Triple jackpot! The pinball machine's voice was at the top of its lungs, and even had a tinge of disbelief in it. Go for the super jackpot! The T-Rex came out again, and it seemed determined to get in the way of any super jackpot attempt. With 2 lightning-fast flicks of the flipper, the new guy blasted the T-Rex out of the way and shot for the ramp, but he just barely missed. The missed ball bounced back so quickly, it was gone before he could react. Damn! I wanted to see that super jackpot, Tony thought. The new guy made a couple fancy moves after that, but didn't get the super jackpot and lost both balls quickly. It was weird. He was amazing 1 second, and then almost instantly he lost the momentum and it was all over. Tony looked around. A small crowd that had formed behind the machine was dispersing to their regular duties. After it was over, he had gotten the high score and put in his initials, DNA. Douglas Adams reference. At the moment there was a loud knock that came from inside the machine. Whoopsh! Free game, little man. It's all yours, the mysterious new guy said to Tony. That day, Tony found his true passion in dredging through the boredom of society. Motherfucking pinball. Tony saw DNA 1 more time. He came in a couple months later while Tony was playing caveman. It was one of those surreal Saturday mornings covered in haze. Tony was the only one playing there that day. He came up behind Tony and watched him play for a bit. Tony was getting to be pretty good. At least he wasn't a double flipper anymore. Tony had even beaten some of DNA's scores on a few machines. The new guy saw that Tony had potential. DNA said, "Can I play the next game?" and played the next game. But basically, he wasn't playing. He was teaching Tony the whole time. Before he started the game, he leaned over the machine, looking at different places under the glass, squinting, sometimes pointing and mumbling incoherently to himself. "What are you looking at?" Tony asked. Oh, just checking it out. Letting my mind take measurements. Noting imperfections. Really? You may not understand this right now, but you will later. Okay, so listen. Okay, Tony thought. Is this guy crazy? You'll never be able to think as fast as your brain thinks without you. Don't worry though, no one can. Even when you walk, your brain is making thousands of calculations per second. Like what muscles to use while walking, adjusting your balance, and muscles to each different footstep. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy asked. Tony looked up and scratched his head. Do you play baseball? He asked. Yeah, Tony replied. When you were being taught how to hit the ball, what did everyone tell you? Tony thought for a minute. Keep your eye on the ball? Tony said, slightly questioning his own answer. Yeah, exactly. And why would they say that? So I could see what I was hitting? Tony questioned his answer again. Yes, exactly. They tell you to keep your eyes on the ball because that's the best way for you to not overthink the situation. If you concentrate on following the ball with your eyes and conscious, that frees up your subconscious mind to do all of the insane calculations needed to hit a speeding ball with a bat. Yeah, but what if I just thought about hitting the ball? Wouldn't that work? Tony asked. When you're thinking about swinging the bat and trying to hit a moving ball, you're actively controlling the muscles in your arm and not focusing on the target. Too much is going on for you to concentrate on everything. When you're watching the ball, it takes all of your active concentration. While you're concentrating on the target, your brain is subconsciously calculating how fast the ball is flying through the air, how far away it is, comparing the ball to the changing background, sensing the wind, noting spin and light, feeling where the bat is, a million different things. Your brain can do all that instantly if left alone. You can maybe do one of those things if you try to think about it all. You see what I'm saying? Concentrate on the ball and nothing else? Well, almost. Focus on your target and know what you want to do. Let your subconscious mind take care of the rest. Huh. So I look at the pinball and think about not losing the ball? Almost again, kid. Watch the ball and have a plan. Just don't overthink it. So why were you staring at the pinball machine all close and weird like that? All I was doing is refreshing the parts of my brain that remember where everything is in this machine. You're probably thinking like, how do you not know where everything is? You must have played this game before. I know where everything is. But in the middle of the game, when 3 balls are flying around in every direction, if you slightly refresh your brain pathways, that could make all the difference. Tony kinda got it, but DNA knew he was going too deep, so he changed topics. Okay, it's 90% skill, 10% luck. Tony asked, are you sure? It seems like I have to get lucky a lot more than that to get a high score. Nope, you'll see. When you learn a little more in pinball, as long as you're in control, you will never lose the ball. Yeah? Made sense to Tony. He knew that he usually lost the ball when bumpers shot the ball around, and it was too fast for him to react. Sometimes there was nothing you could do. In pinball, if you never miss a shot, you never lose control, DNA said. Tony was catching on. And then I'll never lose the ball? Right. Okay, watch this. The ball came screaming down a loop, and DNA did one of those amazing catches with the right flipper. The ball sat there motionless, cradled by the flipper. He sat there, leaning against the machine with his right hand, holding the flipper button down. His left arm was away from the machine, on his hip, scratching various itches. He fixed his hair. He sat there for a while. "Yeah, but that's stupid. You don't get any points," Tony said. "And it's no fun." Maintaining his one-handed position, DNA shot the pinball up the ramp. It scored points and snaked its way back down to the right flipper. He shot again, this time without catching it. Another perfect ramp hit. "Combo," the machine said. He did it again. "Combo 2." He did it again. "Combo 3." It kept going around like this, and he hit the ramp 10 times in a row, all with one hand touching the machine, and never missing the shot. He was hitting the next shot so quickly, the machine's voice couldn't keep up. "Combo! Combo! Combo!" And then after 10 shots, he caught the ball instantly. A cartoon caveman came up on the dot matrix display and gave him a big thumbs up. "Prehistoric combo, dude!" I never gave the evil machine even one chance to steal the ball away from me. DNA got back into his game and out of the side of his mouth said, "If you could do that forever, you'd be a pinball god." Everything he was saying made perfect sense in the pinball world to Tony, and he demonstrated everything right there as he explained it. It was like a pinball clinic from Tommy, the pinball wizard. Well, if Tommy could talk, see, and hear. No matter. At that moment, this guy was the only adult in the world talking Tony's language. "Okay, watch this," DNA said quickly. The ball was in slow descent, straight down the middle, between both flippers. As the ball got closer, it gained speed, and DNA shifted his weight. He was only connected to the machine with his left palm. Arm bent crooked, and only standing on his left leg, right leg in the air for leverage. He was leaning against the machine with all his weight, pushing from left to right and holding the left flipper, waiting for the right moment. The ball came down faster and faster, and from every perspective, it looked like it was heading straight down the middle. Tony remembered this in slow motion. Just as the ball was passing the held-up flipper, DNA pushed on the machine. The entire machine slid to the left under the pinball, maybe a millimeter, but it was just enough for the tip of the flipper to catch the edge of the ball and change its vector enough to careen over and bounce to the right flipper, where he caught it. He had a big smile across his face. It's all about tiny, tiny differences. The difference of 1 millimeter in pinball could be the deciding factor if you score 3 million or 3 trillion. You could hear the passion as he explained. Just there, most people would have lost the ball. It really was going straight down the middle. But I leaned on the machine with my weight, which isn't much, but it was just enough to make the whole pinball machine lean over a tiny bit. The machine didn't move. Its feet are in the exact same spots. It just leaned. The ball was coming down fast and is on that slick, greasy playfield. Me moving the machine a millimeter to the left didn't affect the ball's trajectory at all. There wasn't enough friction. So I kind of moved the machine under the ball. Just a millimeter, but that's all I needed. Tony thought, moving the pinball machine under the ball and the ball doesn't move? He was perplexed by the complexities of these simple-looking machines. DNA continued with the lessons. These flippers, especially these nice new ones. The rubber on there is super sticky when it comes to touching round metal balls. Also, the rubber gives a little. People don't think of that, but it does. It's like a big fat rubber band on there. You need to remember that and think of that while you're playing. Tony's nose was against the glass. Yeah, you're right. It is like a big rubber band on there. Yep. And if someone throws you a ball, you don't catch it with your arm straight out, right? Tony imagined catching a ball. No. Same thing with flippers. If you hold the flipper up and the ball hits it, it's going to bounce around uncontrollably. But if you hold the flipper up and exactly when the ball touches the flipper you let go, you'll catch it. Every time. No, not every time, right? Tony asked. If you do it at the exact right time every time, yes. What? But every time is different. The exact right time is always different. You have to factor in the speed of the ball, the strength of the flipper, the age of the flipper, the lean of the table, how dirty the playfield is, the spin of the ball. Tony interrupted him for that one. The spin of the ball? How can you tell? Exactly. It's a shiny, featureless silver ball on a slick surface, 6 inches below a pane of glass. It will never look like it's spinning to the untrained eye. Yet one of the most important things to know in pinball is how fast it's spinning, because that tells you where it will go when it bounces. Well, then how will I be able to tell? Tony asked. Instinct. Instinct? Yep. It's something I can't really show or teach you. It's something your brain calculates faster than you think. It's like when I was telling you about concentrating on the ball and letting your brain do all the complicated stuff. If you continue to play pinball and keep trying to get better, one day you'll just know. Your brain will just know. Your brain will calculate the minute changes in direction, cross-reference that with data from previous similar experiences, and you'll be able to know it as fast as a light can reach your eyes. Your subconscious brain will be able to predict which direction the ball will bounce. Well, you'll be able to stare into the ball and watch it reflect at you, sometimes looking like it's barely spinning, but you'll know that the little thing is spinning dozens of times per second. Yeah, Tony noticed. No matter how fast it's spinning, it just looks the same. Yeah, it's pretty wild, huh? A vibrating noise came from DNA's pants. He reached in and picked out a phone. Without answering it, he exclaimed, "Oh shit, I gotta go. Here, play the rest of this game. I trust you, little dude. Rock on. I can tell you're gonna be an awesome pinball player one day." He gave Tony a pat on the head and ran off. Tony looked down into the perfectly reflective ball. All the lights around the ball shined back at him in reverse. He didn't know before, but he could look even deeper into the ball and see himself. Wow! It's like a miniature, spherical, funhouse mirror reflecting back at him a psychedelic, M.C. Escher distorted, color self-portrait containing mostly his arms. And it's always there, staring back at you while you play. Tony imagined it was him in another dimension, the exact opposite dimension. Tony's evil twin brother playing a game of negative pinball against him. The evil twin scores when Tony loses a ball. I'm gonna whoop his ass, Tony thought. Suddenly a kid came up to Tony and whispered, "A bullet in the head." "What?" Tony asked. "A bullet in the head," the kid said louder. Tony stared at him. The kid's head started shaking. He put his hands to his mouth like he was holding a mic and yelled, "A bullet in the head!" Tony's eyes opened. Axel and Elle were standing in front of him. Axel pointed his monkey finger at Tony's face. A bullet in your fucking head! And the song ended.